Hey folks, and welcome to the Daily Ratings Podcast. It's a show where each week we're going to be sitting down with Vincent Daly to get his thoughts on the latest movies he's been watching, both older films and new releases. And don't worry, there's no spoilers. Vince will give a brief review of the movie, share some thoughts, and of course, then rate the film. The daily ratings are always fair, honest, and most importantly, they're consistent. On today's show, Vince will be rating and reviewing. So we have some rom-com, rom-dram-ish films here for you folks. We'll start back in 1995 with Before Sunrise, directed by Richard Linklater. We then have You've Got Mail by Nora Ephron. We have Will Smith coming in with Hitch, directed by Andy Tennant. And then we have newly released, now in theaters, we have The Life of Chuck by Mike Flanagan. And finally, Materialists, directed by Celine Song. So let's get Vincent Daly in here, see what he has to say about these films, folks. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. Mr. Vincent Daly, how are we doing over there?
Thomas, I like what you said. Not really rom-com.
No, it's...
maybe rom-dram.
Rom-com, rom-dram-ish.
Or rom-rom.
Some are rom-com.
Yeah.
And some, I gotta be honest, even returning back to You've Got Mail.
Right.
It's not laugh out loud funny.
Sure, it's cutesy.
Exactly right. My thought exactly. It's cutesy.
Yeah, but romance definitely the theme through all these. And,
yes. Yeah.
Not exactly all rom-coms. I mean, even I'm watching Materialists, and also I've been saying The Materialists for the longest time.
It's just Materialists.
It's just Materialists.
I actually don't know if I like the name, to be honest about it. It's almost like too small.
It is a little bit too small. I don't know, but I was watching this. I was like, oh, this is barely a Life of Chuck. Definitely not a rom-com.
I think we got bad marketing.
Yeah,
I think they were trying. They were really trying to set it up.
I think so. But really enjoyable week either way. I mean, this was, I don't know. There was no stress watching these movies.
It was honestly, it was good. I watched You've Got Mail and Hitch. That's it.
Sure.
I did not watch Before Sunrise.
Sure.
But you're right. It was like,
yeah, it was just easy
sit back,
watching.
throw it on. It was nice.
Yeah, I needed a week like this, but and maybe earlier in the podcast I would have made like this big overarching reason of like why I would be covering these movies. I wanted to watch a rom-com, so straight up,
have an easy week for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any opening notes, any grand thoughts of this week after these 5 films?
Okay, so grand thoughts on rom-coms. I think my big takeaway is the key to a good modern rom-com is bench strength, supporting cast, just like whether they're comedians or the friend confidant or...
They do a lot.
Yeah, they do a lot.
They can elevate.
Absolutely. I was thinking that mostly with You Got Mail, where you got like Dave Chappelle and, I think both of the spouses or the partners are really enjoyable. Yeah, there's just a lot there that I was just like, man, that might be the secret sauce to a rom-com.
Well, Kevin James and Hitch.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that's kind of all I have. Do you have anything else?
Well, the only thing is I would like to save Life of Chuck for the last slot.
Oh, that was my question.
Yeah. Just because I feel like going from Hitch to Materialist is a little bit too natural of a fit, both being about matchmakers and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, I kind of like that duo, but you want to separate them a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you want to bring them together.
No, I want to bring them together.
That's right. Okay.
And Life of Chuck, I mean, boy, this is an interesting movie.
Yeah.
It's really one of a kind for better or worse. It's a hard movie to talk about. And
okay.
Yeah.
I listened to a review of it.
Okay.
So it actually came out last year in, was it Venice Film Festival?
Okay.
No, Toronto. It won TIFF.
Really?
It got like the award for TIFF.
Interesting.
And now it came out and kind of a bit of a lackluster performance at the box office.
Yeah. I don't know. I think people don't know what to think of it.
Who was jumping to go see? I don't know. Even just by the trailer.
Yeah.
Who's the audience that's going? I know there's an audience out there.
I had one group that it was 8 people in a row. Like they went like on an outing to see this, and I could.
What kind of people were they?
The only thing I could think of, and this is not any kind of judgment of like their appearance or anything. I mean, truly, but maybe like really diehard Tom Hiddleston fans from like Loki and Marvel. Like maybe they're
that's
just
the
like,
vibes?
I'm gonna see anything Tom Hiddleston. That's the only thing I can guess.
Well, I think that there's
not the vibes of the movie at all.
Well, I know, but if you watch the trailer, that trailer is like a soft rom-com-y, lovey-dovey story.
Right? Yep. Very romantic
not
in its
Hallmark,
ideas.
but
yeah. I feel good.
Right. There is an audience for that.
Yeah.
Too, but I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't matter. It didn't do very well. No one's even seeing it, really. People seem confused by it.
Yeah, people do see. I'm confused by it.
Okay, so I think this might be our first Richard Linklater film on the podcast. That
Oh,
we covered.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And because of what he's come out with, he actually works a lot. He pumps out a lot of material. But we haven't really covered any of them. They're kind of either smaller or just not our thing.
Sure.
He did have a big one kind of on Netflix last year called Hitman.
That's right.
So
with,
I watched that.
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell.
Yep.
I did watch it. I don't know. I know the name Richard Linklater, and yet I can't really ever put his name to titles of films.
Yeah.
And so when I was going down his movies, he's done a lot.
It's
a lot
School of Rock.
Right. It's some stuff super recognizable.
Yeah.
And like Life of a Boy or something like that.
Okay. Oh, and Boyhood.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So he does big names and then just a lot of other stuff. That's not necessarily bad, just different stuff.
Absolutely.
So this is back in 95. He's super young. Ethan Hawke's super young.
Oh, yeah. Super young.
But why don't you get into it? It's starting out a rom-com. How much com, how much drum, and how much rom?
No com, not even really drum, just all rom.
Oh.
So this has been on my list for a while to check out. This is the first film in a trilogy called the Before Trilogy.
That's right.
All progressing romance stories between Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy, and all written and directed by Richard Linklater. The quality that really piqued my interest with these, just, not really knowing much about them and just finding, different lists online and whatnot, is the time frame the trilogy takes place over. Before Sunrise is in 1995, Before Sunset, the sequel, is in 2004, and then Before Midnight is all the way in 2013. These gaps actually mimicking or gimmicking the passage of time for these characters' lives as well. So these different movies are actually checking in with progressing characters as they move throughout their lives.
That's rare that happens.
Yeah, and kind of interesting.
I think, so it's this then, and then what's the one, or is it him with the boys?
Yes, you're thinking of Boyhood.
And that's him.
Yep.
And that's like a 13 or 10-year gap?
I think it's a 14-year gap.
I think that's is that Asa Butterfield?
I am
my
not
boy?
sure.
My guy who's in Ender's Game? Come on now.
That is an unexpected boy.
I think we talked about it in the past.
I don't know. But you hit the nail on the head. I mean, combine that with other long-term projects Linklater has been known to do, such as 2014's Boyhood. I find myself wondering if these movies are all gimmick or is there something remarkable to them, and I wanted to give it a shot for this week. For now, Before Sunrise, and to my understanding, the whole trilogy is a romance, but by no means a normal movie. It's essentially watching our two leads have extended conversations, ranging in topic, ranging in tone, and seeing their relationship blossom almost in real time. I'll be real here. This lack of a traditional plot might bore you to tears, honestly, when you're watching this movie. But, I would say, especially with how heady the conversations can be. But for me, it was interesting to watch this entire story basically be structured as one big meet-cute scene stretched over the whole length of the movie. And that was on top of what I think worked really well here, really honestly, the make or break for the movie, which is our two leads. After an improvised detour to Vienna, Jesse, a wandering American, and Celine, a French student, spark many a conversation getting to know each other and expressing themselves over one otherworldly day. Countless themes are explored, from philosophy and human interaction to upbringing and the dating world debriefs. And along the way, these two really bare their souls to each other, sharing stories and maybe even walking away with a deeper understanding of themselves, all before sunrise. I think realistically, folks, your enjoyment of this almost completely lies on the chemistry between these two, more than most romance movies. While there are some loose end characters they run into on their magical night, it really is just the two of them making the whole movie. Hawk, Hawk's your boy.
Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
Our boy. I think he's the podcast's boy, Ethan Hawke. We're always pushing for him. We're always pulling for him.
We're always pushing.
How'd he do?
Hawk is smoldering in this. Put this boy in a turtleneck, give him a book on a train. He will steal your girl in an instant. I think this hit like a really nice spot though in his career. This is like 2 years before Gattaca. This is he's not like a child actor like you see him in like Dead Poets Society or something like that.
Right.
He hits a stride. It's almost exactly what I said about Ralph Macchio in Karate Kid. That it's just like he's so natural and it's so like not acting that it kind of works. It's so
Good.
Ethan Hawke through and through.
I think that's a good thing. I think that's a younger Hawke doing his thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think occasionally you can maybe feel how his younger career has been criticized for bad acting, but again, this character was just so naturally him that maybe it could be said for all of his careers that you buy him. You buy Ethan Hawke. While this was the first movie I saw with Julie Delpy, I thought she was really great too. This is a classic case where partnering these two together elevates both of their acting and honestly the material that they have to deliver. I think in the wrong hands, a lot of these conversations can be an eye roll or a little bit too heady, gumming up the works a little bit.
It needs to really feel natural.
Absolutely.
Like just total buy-in that you need.
Yeah.
Like if this was replace Ethan Hawke with The Weeknd. Right? And this movie's terrible. I can only imagine. This movie has to be terrible.
Interesting. Weekend taking shots. Did you happen to watch Hurry Up Tomorrow?
No,
or
just,
maybe see some clips.
Making connections from a few episodes ago.
Yeah.
But you're buying these two. They seem like a legitimate couple that can starting to have feelings for each other.
Absolutely. By 1994, Delpy also just wrapped her own trilogy in France called the Three Color Movies, or the Three Color Trilogy. I'm really not sure who else was in the running or would be in the running in this time slot in 95, but apparently casting these two was a 9-month process.
Wow.
And I think it pays off when you watch this. There's some real chemistry there. I think the big question I have is did Linklater plan this as a long-term project from the start? And I really couldn't find a lot of details on that.
Really? That's not known whether it was or wasn't? Or?
No, I couldn't find anything. I mean, I'm with you. It should be.
When does Before Sunset come out?
Before Sunset is 04, 03? Yeah, 04.
Oh, okay. That is a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, maybe by, 2013 for the final one, it's like, all right, well, we're butting it up. But I think there's something a little bit magical here to this first one specifically because it's like there's almost no expectations a la the story of the movie
Were you thinking about who could have replaced her? Not saying she was bad. I mean, you said she was good, but you can't help but not play that game.
I know, and I was playing that game with both of them.
How old was Jennifer Connelly in 95?
your go-to.
How old? I mean, I think she might, because these are young 20s, correct?
Yeah,
these are young 20s.
Yeah, Connelly would have been a great choice, smoke show choice.
She might have been in her teens, though, at that point. I don't know. I can't remember.
No, I think 95. I mean, how far is Requiem from a Dream?
I think it's 99.
Yeah,
Requiem.
yeah.
I don't know. She might have been too young. Sarah Jessica Parker?
Maybe.
I think she's prime age for that.
I would have been annoyed.
All right.
Too much. I will say, to Delpy's credit, she's legitimately French. She's playing a French student. All these conversations that dip into a little bit too heady, she's the one holding it up. It's Ethan Hawke's kind of like dumb guy. That's what's teetering on maybe not working. I could have guessed, however, this was a hard movie to give a score to. It's extremely minimal and also extremely vulnerable. I will say as a win, as the first film to a trilogy, that same intimacy is shared with the viewer as well. And I would say it makes for a pretty good hook to making you curious where these two strangers' lives could go as far as, moving on to a second and a third movie. I think if you enjoy projects that try to push their performers a little bit or try to pursue a realism above structure, this is definitely something you should check out. And I also think if you enjoy a hangout style movie, this could work for you. I mean, this really felt like a romantic spin on coffee and cigarettes, which sounds like the most late 90s thing you could ever imagine, like the most late 90s pitch you could ever come up with. It's pure romance and a unique one at that, and we're going to go ahead and give Before Sunrise 1995 a 66.
Okay, a 66%. Totally an audience out there for this.
Yeah, I think so.
It's going to be a good Saturday night, date night if she needs to watch something, if it's her turn, you know? You can at least put a suggestion in.
Yeah, true.
Okay, 66%.
It might bore both people to tears, though, because it's just a lot of talking.
It's a lot of dialogue.
Yeah, you got to be really locked in.
And bought into these two.
I mean, not even that any one topic matters, because they just move on to the next one, but to kind of grasp the meaning and how head over heels they fall for each other. You really gotta be in.
Yeah, like you said, it's a heavy romance, basically.
Yes.
There's not much else going on.
Yeah, rom.
Yeah. Okay, now, these next two films. Okay, that's great. 66% Before Sunrise. I feel like here on this list, we have almost just classic, standard, typical, very good, pure kind of rom-com. And then we have the very best B rom-com.
Oh.
Like B movie rom-com.
Interesting.
Okay? So, I mean, it's not a secret that Hitch is the B movie.
Okay.
Rewatching Hitch, I was like, boy, this is not as good as I remember watching reruns on TBS.
No way.
But in the eyes of more of a B rom-com movie,
it's
the best of the best.
Interesting.
And it brought it. I was able to feel good about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You've Got Mail, 98. I thought this was like 2000, 2001. It's 98.
Yeah.
And
cutting edge, even.
This is the third movie with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. So the first one was Joe vs. the Volcano.
Yep.
Second was Sleepless in Seattle. And now this one, and You've Got Mail in 98. It's a classic.
I think it is.
The name is classic. I mean, come on. Everyone knows You've Got Mail.
You're talking to a Tom Hanks mega fan,
I'm
though.
not a mega fan. I think if you're over the age of 25, everyone knows You've Got Mail. Even if you don't even remember really, if you don't remember dial-up, if you don't remember AOL, people still know this movie. And I was surprised how much this hit personally. Even this has some staying power.
Yeah,
with how connected this is to tech and to bookstores, this surprisingly it still had some sort of a modern feel or hit on certain vibes.
Yeah.
So anyway, You've Got Mail, 98, Nora Ephron, who I like this director a lot.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting.
Okay, go. Kick off You've Got Mail. I'll jump in.
I was going to say, I mean, it might be my millennial brain rot, but this was just a total comfort food watch, you know.
Big time.
Yeah. I mean, so many little touches feel cozy. We already talked about on the previous episode this kind of late 90s Barnes & Noble's vibe to the movie. Let me tell you, Giuliani's 90s New York is super charming. You know, America's mayor might be crazy now, but back then it was a safe city. I mean, safe enough for Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks to just like walk around. But all of this can be summed up in what I'll call kind of like a dial-up nostalgia. Usually this stuff doesn't work on me. It did charm me watching this movie, and probably the reason why this made the cut over just like countless choices this week. I mean,
come on.
Yeah.
There's plucked from the hat, really.
Yeah. There really is just like so many out there, and even in like hearing back from some of you folks on choices and whatnot, it almost becomes like decision paralysis of just like, I don't know. I mean, like, I want to watch these rom-coms, but it's just like, I want comfort out of the rom-com, and that comes from, just something I watched before. But really, this has some nostalgia to it. I mean, did you hear these 1998 Starbucks prices? $2.95 for a coffee? What? You Got Mail is, I'll be honest, a dirty, no-good cheater movie. Or at least by modern standards in the emotional sense. It is a cute rom-com that uses the craze of instant messenger and email to connect two of the most iconic faces of the decade. Meg Ryan plays Kathleen Kelly, a small children's bookstore owner that has a anonymous internet pen pal, quickly becoming the spark of joy in her life. Little does she know, though, her new confidant is Joe Fox, played by Tom Hanks, the bookstore mogul that is stamping out all the competition with his comfy chairs and heavy discounts. With a new Fox Books megastore on the block, the two dance around each other as professional rivals, but otherwise a perfect match for each other. Quickly, their rule of no personal details in their messages leaves enough breadcrumbs for each of them to puzzle together who their dream date might really be. Folks, believe it or not, and like you introduced, Tom, this is the end of kind of an unofficial Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks trilogy. Joe versus the Volcano in 1990.
Underrated.
Oh, really?
Oh,
okay.
underrated.
Never
Yep.
saw it.
Great opening cut. I think great opening song and great opening scene.
Oh, okay.
And when I watched it, I thought it was a throwaway Tom Hanks.
Sure.
I was like, Tom Hanks doesn't get cooking until like 91, 92.
Okay.
And
Well, this is like Burbs, Tom Hanks. This is like pure silly.
I think, yeah, kind of. Yeah, this is 1990 on the dot, I want to
Okay.
say.
Yep.
Sleepless in Seattle's 93, I think.
Yeah,
And
that's
I just didn't take it seriously because no one talks about this when they go down the list of the Tom
Sure.
Hanks films.
Sure.
I watched it and was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, okay.
Not listen, you know what I mean, but it's it's not Castaway, but it is Joe versus Volcano. It's good.
But it is Joe versus the Volcano. What a name. Sleepless in Seattle is the follow-up to this. I mean, I think that name is a perfect example of recognizable enough that it could have probably earned the slot this week.
Oh, yeah.
A perfect example of just like there's so many rom-coms that, hit for different people for different reasons. And then finally this in 1998. Surprisingly, I thought Meg Ryan was going to be my favorite out of the pair, but she's a little annoying at times. I couldn't help but be a tiny
I've
bit
met that
annoyed.
person before.
Oh, yeah.
You've totally met that person.
Yeah.
Super sweet.
Sure.
Like an absolute sweetheart for,
Yeah.
for late 90s New Yorker.
Right. But just, I mean, she's got an idiotic nature at times for her failing to pick up certain hints. But honestly, I think my reason why I wanted to watch this was, again, like the comfort of it. But I really do love her from When Harry Met Sally.
Of
I
course.
think that is like really one of the top as far as rom-coms go. So I wanted to kind of spark that again.
Well, that's the crazy thing. I mean, she was the queen of rom-coms and then
Yeah.
just disappeared completely.
Yeah.
There's even talk that she might make an appearance. I mean, I think she's been out of film for a while.
It's like small projects. I was looking at a career. It's a little confusing just to see the jumps.
There's been talk about her coming back for rom-coms, though, again.
Interesting.
So we'll see. But she was it.
Yeah.
Like the it girl for, 15 years-ish?
Absolutely. Hanks, on the other hand, though, I think he totally killed it here. Hanks was, wow. His
Okay.
Godfather explanation as the sum of all knowledge was like, I can't even tell you how big I was smiling. And I also can't, he yells a lot in this of just like, I don't know, it's just like greetings sometimes, like he'll just like burst out in energy.
Yeah.
I can't help but hear Woody's voice.
Yeah, of course, it is Woody.
Post-95. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's totally Woody.
But it's like, it's really Woody. I mean, he's on the yacht at the one point, and I think he like greets the kids or something like that. And really, you don't see his mouth move. It could have just been Woody. Like, it's ridiculous. I was really laughing all week about this. I mean, the fact that he is in the same he stars in this the same year as Saving Private Ryan was just blowing my mind.
If you look at his, it's an unbelievable 2-year stretch,
Yes.
I think, because he's got this and Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
And then he's got, I forget what it was. It's just the 90s is crazy
Yes.
for him. But
Yeah.
this and Saving Private Ryan comes out in summer. This comes out in December.
yeah, it's
The guy's
crazy.
just crushing it.
Crushing it. I mean, both sides of what you want too. I mean, I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about Tom Hanks, they either prefer one side, the dramatic side, or the more like kind of comedic, silly side of his earlier career. And like, guess what? You got both in '98. So
This was a good year.
This was a year Hanks, but. I think after this week, though, I can safely say, and like we started the episode with, a strong supporting cast might be the secret sauce to any great rom-com, and You've Got Mail is packed with them. Both Parker Posey and Greg Kinnear are great additions because, frankly, we needed a good reason for our two no-good cheaters as a lead to have a reason to move away. And then they're just kind of perfectly, fine moving things forward on each of the sides. Greg Kinnear actually made me laugh a couple times. I thought he was pretty good in this.
I'll tell you what, Greg Kinnear,
like pseudo-intellectual,
the man.
New Yorker.
He is good in this.
Yeah.
It always surprised me. I always knew who Greg Kinnear was. Always. Probably as long as I can remember, I remember a Greg Kinnear in the world.
Yeah.
With some type of importance. And there was at one point, I'm just like, what was he in that everyone likes Greg Kinnear
that
or what he did? In. And I go through time and time again. I go through his IMDb, and I'm like, why was this guy ever a thing? Why was he ever big? I don't understand where he came from, why everyone knows his name, why he's a recognizable name to even put on a cover.
It's a name you recognize.
Yes, and when you go through his career, it's just like, I don't think this guy earned it. He does a small part here. He's going to do a small part here. I thought he was I thought he had like a George Clooney ER type thing.
Oh,
like came from this massive show at its peak.
Maybe thrown into some things.
He just kind of like bubbles up like a clogged drain that where it starts coming up again. It's just all of a sudden it's Greg Kinnear all over the place.
Poor Greg, bubbling up.
I like him though.
Yeah. I think he really worked in this. Jean Stapleton was super charming. Of course, the classic actress from All in the Family. Those were the days and stuff like that. She plays Meg Ryan's old friend working in the bookstore, and just had some great one-liners for how short she is on screen. And really, really great, really charming. And I will always shout out Dave Chappelle thrown into a movie.
It's great.
The fact that, we talk about Tom Hanks's double features in 98. The fact that his double feature in 98 was this movie in Half Baked is just hysterical.
And Chappelle's great in it.
Oh,
the fact that they picked him to be Tom Hanks' like right-hand man.
Yeah.
Love it. I love that. I also love Tom Hanks' dad in this.
Oh, yeah.
He is so good. There's a scene where he's just eating nuts and he's just talking about his previous wives.
Yep.
And there's something about
it. It's on the boat, yeah.
He just sells it completely. I'm like, is this the best acting of a guy eating nuts ever?
Yeah. The dad nut shake, basically.
By the way, his 2-year stretch, we can go on about his 90s. His decade run is insane. But he's got You've Got Mail and Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Right? And then the year after, he has Toy Story 2 and then The Green Mile. Fantastic.
Unreal. That's fantastic. I think the reason why maybe this maybe falls a little bit lower where I expected to score it is just all in the last stretch of the story. For a while, I thought it was the soundtrack throwing me off. This has got a real nonstop 90s feel to lock in those CD sales.
Yeah.
And really, what's a Tom Hanks movie without a Randy Newman song in it? I guess a Tom Hanks 90s movie. I did like, they added Dreams, the song Dreams. Nice touch to the title crawl. I think Getting Older for me is going from hating the Cranberries to loving the Cranberries.
Okay.
But what actually landed as an issue is all around just like the last 30 minutes or so, feeling just a bit too long, but more importantly, having just a much nicer story that the story could wrap up in. I won't talk about spoilers, but let's just say there is a moment inside Meg's own home that just feels so perfect to wrap things up, and then it just continues for another whole act.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't want to end in that apartment. No way.
She's sick. You can't have your finale with your lead sick.
No, it's just that's the I don't know, the inflection point there. That's what the inflection point of the film is for their love.
But that's what I mean, like where it's there's some frustration in Meg's character here a little bit
for
that
sure.
I couldn't shake.
Yes,
it was just like kind of ridiculous. But honestly, watching this movie and then Hitch, I think the issue is identical. That the last stretch becomes predictable and becomes kind of like been there, done that as far as rom-coms, like every rom-com you've seen, just because it goes on for a little bit too long. But that is unless you absolutely need more time with Tom and Meg. We're going to go ahead and give You've Got Mail 1998 a 68.
A 68? Okay. Listen, I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take that too.
In fact, I think 68 is like my score. Didn't we have that on the Tom Dailies? Where you gave 68, we did that thing where it's like, what was the number you gave out most often? I think it was like 68 and 72 or something like that.
Yeah.
I think 68 had a lot of movies I loved in it. Like Blood Diamond, had Lord of the Rings. I think it was The Three Godfathers. So this is my score, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good sign,
your score.
68% for You've Got Mail. I don't think I wasn't even thinking about Two Shoes. I kind of feel like now, just us talking about it, I need to give it a Two Shoes, but we'll let it sit. I guess it wasn't jumping out at me.
No, nothing off the cuff, but you've watched the full trilogy, the unofficial trilogy of Joe versus the Volcano, Sleepless in Seattle, and now this. Where does the ranking fall for you?
I think I probably goes. I've watched Joe vs. Volcano once.
Okay.
I watched part of Sleepless in Seattle because I'm pretty sure I fell asleep during Sleepless in Seattle. And this I probably watched 5 or 6 times.
Oh, okay. So it's got
so this is number 1.
Interesting.
And then Joe and Seattle can fight it out, I guess.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
I just hear good things about Sleepless in Seattle. I mean, it's definitely a name,
yes,
in the Hall of Fame.
And had I watched the whole thing, I could comment more on it. On its quality or lack of quality. Yeah. I always thought that You Got Mail was taken, it's more cutesy, and Sleepless in Seattle is more rom-rom.
Sure. Okay.
I think. But again, I don't really know. I think we got to keep going with it. Not back to back, but I'd like in the future, in the near future.
I would definitely be happy to check these out because honestly, I do like Tom Hanks' early career. Like I like The Burbs. I like when he's silly.
Shocked when you said that. Yeah, you were shocking me left and right. In fact,
really,
every
The
time.
Burbs got a good score on the site.
I know it does. And Philadelphia's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for most of our friendship, you've done nothing but shit on the man.
I do love shitting on Tom
Hanks. But no, 90s Hanks, of course, is just classic.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so let's jump to 2005. I'm telling you, a TBS classic.
Yeah, for real.
Will Smith is this is prime Will Smith, I would say.
Yes,
this
golden age almost.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep.
Hitch, directed by Andy Tennant, who I was looking through him. I mean, he is just a rom-com machine. That director is good for one thing and one thing only, but he seems to enjoy himself. But okay, why don't you set the film up for us here? And we'll take it back and forth.
Well, if there's a common thread between our last movie and this one, it is the lesson of right time, right place. Amidst the pickup artist craze of the 2000s, this movie comes along, starring, once again, some of the most recognizable faces of the decade, and using a cultural trend to create a rom-com story that hits. And on the other side of this, the whole reason why I thought of pairing it with our new release Materialists is it looks like this whole matchmaker angle was being used again to kick off a story. Either way, I think this was well overdue for an updated score on the website because honestly, Tom, this had to be one of the first wave of scores that we did.
I think this was the original 50.
Yeah.
I think I threw it on there just for fun.
And I definitely at that time would have, to your point, this was something that you just saw a million times on TV.
It was.
To the point that when he gets his shirt ripped off in the cab drying, taxi. That's a commercial
break. You know when the commercial break's coming.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, this was just before streaming really took off. Not just before,
sure.
I don't know. This was when TBS was really in a heyday. You had King of Queens still crushing on TBS, so it really worked well with the Kevin James angle. So they played off, and Will Smith was riding high still.
Yeah, and Will Smith had other, like I Am Legend, his other type of movies in the late 2000s that were so TV ready,
There's a case to be made
to throw them on.
That he had a 3-4 year stretch where he was the biggest guy.
Yeah.
Because after Tom Cruise kind of fell out of favor after 2003, I think Will Smith kind of became the man.
Sure. What's in 03? Jumping on the Oprah couch?
No, Mission Impossible. No, Mission Impossible 3 was 2006.
I think so.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
but I'm with you. Tom Cruise does have a fall off. I just don't know.
It was after 2006. It was after MI3. That's when it really went
But is the time date, is the mile marker there, him jumping on the Oprah couch?
No, I forget when the couch was. I forget what the date was on the couch. I'll have to go back.
Yeah.
See what moon phase it was, but
yeah.
Anyway, Will Smith, I do think had a period where he was like Men in Blacks.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hitch is a rom-com that dangles the secret to romance like a carrot in front of legions of clueless guys until that carrot no longer works for the master holding the stick. Will Smith plays Alex Hitchens, the date doctor, helping all sorts of helpless guys lock down the woman of their dreams, even if that seems like an impossible reality. His latest client is the comfortably awkward Albert Brenneman, played by Kevin James, completely out of his crush's league, who just happens to be his wealthy socialite client he does the accounting for. For the first time in a while, though, new romance sparks with the expert in the form of a gossiping journalist played by Eva Mendes, forcing Hitch to see if his skills can pay his own bills now. While Hitch can help anyone in New York, Albert's own pursuits get complicated when he starts doing his own thing, and that attracts the attention of the same colonists he's trying to keep as far away as possible from his work persona. On the surface, the date doctor might sound like a sleazy con artist trying to get guys laid, but really all he wants to do is get guys out of their own heads and give their partners their first kiss. I've seen this just a million times.
Now, when was the last time you've seen it, though?
Probably still on TV.
like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
a while ago.
And I think I saw this many times for no other reason than just loving Kevin James growing up and always catching it on cable.
Yeah.
I feel like my tendency to yell and lean in for a punchline really just comes exclusively from King of Queens. Like, that's in my DNA, whether I like it or not. But watching this again, I think felt really fresh for, watching it on the podcast. I got to say, this has some snappy pacing going on here. Really, You've Got Mail, up until that very last 20 minutes, I think this moves in a great, great way. Some of the working pieces here, most dates in the story are structured as like fun heist scenes, where what I mean by this is like you have the planning and execution shown at the same time. Maybe that's taking a page from like the Ocean's movies coming around similar years, but there's something like that moves there because you have Will narrating the steps that they have to take, and then in what we're seeing, they're either subverting that by doing something different or just playing by the playbook. I really did enjoy the layering to the plot. Both Will and Kevin's romances dance back and forth to keep things moving along, and especially passing time in between these dates. I think one thing that really wasn't like a major issue for You've Got Mail, but something I noted is that the passage of time, just kind of like waiting around for the next date or the next kind of meet cute, was something that, I don't know, I was always kind of conscious of. Here, they're just back and forth. We just get these time jumps constantly.
It does move at a clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does move.
And I just think there's no fat on this edit. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Hitch might have just really drilled in my editing preferences into my skull. Or maybe my lack of attention, but I'm telling you, like, there's some magic somewhere in the pacing. I mean, maybe it's not equally split between these 3 points that I'm making, but somewhere in between, maybe one more important than the other, I think there is some magic to this.
I don't think you have to explain it any further, because I think you're totally right. I will say, I thought the movie was actually shorter than what it was. I thought it was like an hour and 45.
Right.
It's a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
But it does move pretty well.
Yeah.
And you get started basically immediately.
Exactly. I think that's really, my main takeaway is that it is like, maybe not heist, but the whole concept of like how the scene is set up as like, we're going to be talking about the plan, but you're actually seeing the forward motion. It's no wasted time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like I said in the reviews so far, though, casting might be the most important factor for a rom-com survival, or at least what like creates a real big hit. This also kind of had me reflecting on like maybe a reason, not the reason, but a reason why rom-coms aren't really like around anymore is we don't have maybe a personality that we want to see really matched up together. I don't know. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I don't think that.
No?
I just think rom-coms... just something happened. Rom-coms aren't sold right now for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on. There's plenty of.
We had that Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell one,
and we might have some stuff coming in the future that might be just a different take of. Maybe rom-coms are going to go through a different kind of thing coming up.
Sure.
Because there's one with Zendaya and oh man, what's his face? Twilight, we like him. Robert Pattinson.
We like him.
There's a Zendaya, Robert Pattinson one
Not
coming out.
Not for Twilight, though.
Right. Even a Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson one.
Oh, wow.
Of course, you had Anyone But You recently, which one wasn't really good. But the point is,
more raunchy.
You have these young guns coming up. Finally, they have a name to themselves, like a Zendaya or a Timmy or a
Pattinson.
Yeah, Pattinson. No, I was going to say the pretty boy that every jewel's over.
Oh,
that's
Glenn
a little
Powell?
bit. No, he's long-winded and a kind of a chore to listen to in interviews.
Wait, you need to find.
He's in the
who are you thinking about?
Eddington. He's in Dune. Come on, he's.
Austin Butler.
Yes, Austin Butler.
He is a chore to listen to. This guy cannot turn the cool switch off. Like,
no,
he needs to chill.
He needs to chill.
He needs to
just
chill.
like have some fun once in a while. But anyway,
real quick detour. There's actually a great interview with him where, like, it's either like Letterboxd or something like that. On the red carpet, they're asking people their favorite movies that they grew up with, like favorite kids movies, and he says Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and it's just like, dude, what? One, you're lying, but two, that's what? Like, what are you talking about?
It's just he has this over appreciation that gets old, where he's just like, oh man, and then it's just 10 minutes later we'll get the answer, but he has to let us know how much he appreciates it, or everybody involved on it, and this, that, the other. It's just like, stop. Yeah. Anyway, we have enough of these young guns coming up that they could make rom-coms great again.
Wow.
But I think that
he said it.
We're just going to have a different take on it. There's so many different reasons why we don't have them anymore.
Yeah.
Regardless, what was your point in saying that?
Who knows? The point in saying this is that, again, I think a secret sauce, or if not the secret sauce, is casting of our leads, casting of supporting, comedic performances. That is the key, I think, to the rom-com. This is smack dab in the middle of Will Smith's golden age. I mean, he's got kids movies, he's got big sci-fi blockbusters, he's got franchises to lean back on when he needs to. I mean, in the mid-2000s, Will could really do no wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's real shame when you're watching this, because I still like Will Smith quite a bit, but...
Well, come on with listen, he's coming back around.
Yeah?
Well, he's been in timeout for a little while. Listen, America loves a comeback story.
I think he needs to be in timeout further, but...
Everyone,
Americans
love a comeback story. He came out with an album, I think, recently.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Don't get me started on the new music he's been releasing, because that's a pile of caca. Equally, Eva Mendes, Kevin James, this is definitely more fuel in their rising career, where this feels, just so much more, at the climax for Will Smith.
Yeah.
But honestly, where Kevin James would go on to kind of ruin his own comedic brand with future movies like Paul Blart and shit like that, I found myself really wishing Eva Mendes would come out of retirement to do some more comedies. I think she was super charming in this.
Eva Mendes is like really good.
Yeah.
But no, she said that she might do movies again, but only with Ryan Gosling, her husband.
Okay.
And shockingly, her and Ryan Gosling as a couple and as like parents have like this very good work-life balance.
Yeah.
And just like they have a healthy family, which is not rare, I feel like, for Hollywood, and like good-looking Hollywood couples.
Right, yeah, extremely good-looking.
You know what I mean? It just
top 1%
doesn't work. They seem very healthy.
Yeah. Well, I think I know. What did Gosling win the Oscar for? Was that La La Land, or was that something else? But there's an acceptance speech from Ryan Gosling that he thanks Eva for, essentially what she did was taking a step back in her own career to allow
raise
him
her kids.
to,
Well, I think she also wanted to raise the kids a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, but
almost like Cameron Diaz did for 10 years.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that was the reason why she stopped acting. I thought she was just a bad actress.
No, she wanted to do her. She wanted to kind of do her thing. Well, I bring up Cameron Diaz too because one, she casted to play Eva Mendes. And then also, the character Allegra Cole in this film looks exactly like Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Like, exactly like her.
Yeah,
But anyway.
Well, there was a few things I was worried about coming back to this, especially, we're talking about, 20 years, and especially around the writing. I really I didn't know how the dating angle was going to be, if it was going to age. Hopefully, it wasn't going to be creepy, but thankfully, I don't think that's really a problem. If anything, I found the writing just shocking how corny in 2000s the writing was.
Will Smith can be super cheesy.
Oh, yeah. I still like most of the comedic setups in this, especially when they're subverting the joke. I think all of Will and Eva's dates are, them going terrible are a great example of them kind of flipping the joke a little bit. Well, none of this aged in a bad way. By no means am I saying this hasn't aged at all. And really, what are these penthouses every character lives in?
This is beautiful. It's beautiful New York City, man.
This is crazy. future generations are going to watch this and they say, man, did they have it good before the housing crash? I mean, like, everyone lives in a penthouse. It is unreal.
I remember even like years ago, and anytime I brought up Hitch, you would always bring up the fact that Will Smith just had a bowl of fresh limes, like a huge bowl of limes in his apartment. And you're just always giving him shit, just like, no one needs that many limes.
Nobody needs that many limes. His house is ridiculous. I mean, all of their places are ridiculous. Mendez's place looks like Pedro Pascal's like private equity penthouse in Materialist. She's like a gossip journalist. I mean, it's ridiculous. It might be set in New York, but it is not a New York experience. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we got a flashback to 2005. But like I said, though, for our last movie, the final stretch just feels a bit predictable and on rails, but really only as a result, I think, of extending the runtime a bit. I think there are moments towards the end where the writing goes from kind of smartly dissecting the 2000s dating landscape and having maybe some insightful or clever things to say about it to really overly mushy garbage that was thrown in because we need a happy ending. I mean, like, some of the sentimentality at the end of this film was just like, oh my God. I think that's what brings me back to this movie time after time, is just how fun and well-structured most of its runtime feels. And just maybe that speaks to how rewatchable it was back in the day to populate so much cable TV. We're going to go ahead and give Hitch 2005 a 70 on the dot.
Wow, a 70 on the dot. I forget what you gave it. That original
old score, I think, was a 60. I could not find it on our site. I could only find it on like the old Excel.
Yes, I took it off this site when I knew we were doing Hitch.
Oh, okay.
Because it was such an old score, I figured we'd have some movement in it.
Yeah.
I got to put it on the top of the line anyway for when we publish it again.
So yeah, I must have searched it during that period, but. I really believe in this score, though, because I think there's so much here to love about structure. You know, it's more than just, rom-coms being casting choices, the leads, the chemistry. This one has really like a fun structure that was like fun watching the movie itself,
I'm glad you're having a good time. That was a very good pitch for Hitch, I think. 70%.
I want to hear more about this B-movie revelation, though.
I don't think it's... Okay, you don't want to hear what I was going to say.
Say it.
You don't want to hear what I was going to say. Okay, if You've Got Mail is The Goodfellas...
Oh, I don't like it. I don't like it.
If You Got Mail is Goodfellas, then Hitch is Boogie Nights.
Oh, wow. Unexpected. Hitch is Boogie Nights. What?
See? He's so flabbergasted he has to like it. Okay. Kramer...
That's a hot take.
Is it Kramer versus Kramer? No.
Yes.
Okay, so Kramer...
Well, very different movie.
No, I'm thinking of something different then. No, maybe I'm thinking When Harry Met Sally.
Okay, yeah.
Is like the birth of what we had
That's The
rom-coms for
Godfather.
20 years. That is kind of... That's exactly right. Got it.
Everything can be summarized.
Well, I think I made the argument just fine there.
Goodfellas, Boogie Nights.
Hey, folks, if you're enjoying the podcast and you're always tuning in to the Daily Ratings, or you're stopping in at the website, thedailyratings.com, if you're getting value from what we're doing here, can you give us some value back? So Vin and I, we are not advertising based. We don't have any paywalls or tier structures on our site. We are listener supported. We are producer supported. So can you go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com? And through your donations, you help support the Daily Ratings, one, but you also become a legitimate, actual, credited producer of the Daily Ratings. Just like in Hollywood, when you financially support a project, you're a producer of the project. So that's how we're doing it here. We don't want to have ads everywhere on the website or pitching ads constantly on the podcast. We don't want to have Patreon where you have to give a certain amount a month and it's more so pay to play, like you need to pay to get more access to content. Everything that we do, 100% of our content is out there technically for free. So if you are enjoying yourself or if you're finding it useful, can you send some value our way? It's the value for value model. When you head to the donations tab, there's a big value for value button there. You can just pay whatever amount that you want. There's also some fun set donations if you want to do that. And you can use PayPal, credit, debit. You can even use Satoshis if you're into Podcasting 2.0. Whatever you want, it's all laid out there for you. Ben and I, we are a slim production here. We don't have a lot of overhead or a lot of things to pay for, but there are still things to pay for. So every donation, every producer means the world to us. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. It really does help out with helping this keep going. When you do produce, become a producer, send in a producer note. This can be questions, comments, critiques, ask us anything, say anything, start a conversation, or add to a conversation. Basically, you can email us at tom.vin@thedailyratings.com. That's our email. And when you donate, send in a producer note along with it. And we'll address it right here. We'll give you the thanks, and we'll bring you into the conversation. That's what being a producer is all about. We want to hear from you. So, but anyway, with that, again, it's thedailyratings.com. Head to the donations tab. We thank you all so much. Okay, Vin, let's go to our theater releases for this week.
You got me thinking about Boogie Nights now.
I thought, you know what, and you came in with The Godfather with Harry Met Sally. I think that you can't beat that.
That's pretty good.
But what I really mean with Hitch and it being a B movie, it's, I don't know, watching it again, I was super not impressed, but found myself really enjoying myself. This was the most empty calories, where You've Got Mail felt like more of a complete, cutesy, but a film, I can almost call it.
Okay.
This was popcorn movie, like easy, just empty calories.
Sure.
In the best way was Hitch. And for that, I don't know. I don't mean it's a B movie like crap B movies, but as far as rom-coms go, I do kind of put it in a different section of my head.
Okay.
That's all. So you wanted to start with Celine Song's second film here, Materialists. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this in the past few weeks. Celine Song made a name for herself a couple years ago with Past Lives. Mm-hmm. No, Past Lives?
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. I got that wrong on the news show.
Oh.
I think I said December.
Oh.
Which was a movie.
Yeah, definitely was a movie.
That's hilarious that I messed that up. So it was Past Lives.
Yes.
And it was a love trio type of deal, correct?
No. May, December, yes, absolutely. And one a little dicey, too.
Oh, Past Lives was oh my God.
Past Lives is the Korean one.
That is hilarious. How wrong I had that in my head even.
The thing is, I did joke about the boyfriend being left behind in Past Lives when we reviewed it. It was just kind of like, well, there's a guy in there.
Yeah.
So maybe that was where it was.
That's hilarious. I jumbled them up completely. Well, anyway, she made a name for herself.
Yeah.
And critics really loved her. And the big thing was, okay, not necessarily that she has a blank check, but she can kind of go off and do something that she wants.
Yeah.
Because someone's going to pick it up. Mm-hmm. And with that, we have Materialists. So why don't you get into it, break the story down, and we'll go from there.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, oddly enough, this really was one of my more anticipated movies and pretty much exclusively for a writer-director. I mean that, too. I don't really care for Dakota Johnson's deadpan shtick. And at this point, I'm pretty sick of Pascal and Evans. I've seen a lot of them.
Pascal's in 3 big movies this year.
Yeah.
This summer, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
He's in Eddington. He's in this. And then he's, of course, Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, Stretch Armstrong. Can't wait to see him. Key to the MCU, Stretch Armstrong. But 2023's Past Lives was just a wonderful, longing romance. And one of only 2 movies to make me cry over the course of the podcast. So I wondered for a long time what Song's next move would be, considering how personal that project felt, and especially reflecting on the stumble a lot of directors fall into with their sophomore project. But I'm happy to say Song was more than able to infuse some of that heartache that made Past Lives so memorable into this now. And while it might not be as strong, I do think this year has really shown new directors on the scene have the goods to deliver more than a single hit. In Materialists, we are shown exactly what the modern dating world is, and that is statistics. What's your height? What's your weight? Job, salary, economic upbringing, political alignment. All of these are pieces to a puzzle that is solvable when you're not the one looking for the quote-unquote perfect partner. Dakota Johnson plays Lucy, a prestige matchmaker in New York, cynical enough to stay single and not romantic in the slightest on what she sees true love to be, someone to bury you when it's all over. Her cold outlook is what makes her so good at her job, though, being able to navigate the literal marketplace of dating and matching endless picky clients with countless choosy partners. By chance, she meets her new prospect turned lover, Pedro Pascal, at the same exact moment she runs into her longtime ex, Chris Evans. While Pedro might be considered a unicorn in the biz, devilish, confident, and rich, she still longs for a romance that was cut short despite the frustration and hardship that may come with any growing couple. I think, right off the bat, this balance of these two romances, one painful and longing and the other exciting and dreamlike, was really great. Like, really, really great. It hits such a good rhythm. Almost, you're laughing. Almost like Hitch. No, but like the bounce back, the A plot, B plot, the back of the ranch. This in a romance scenario, I think really does wonders to pacing, where so much of it is like, all right, let's get to the next date. Let's see the next meet cute. Celine's song basically is able to have her cake and eat it too without sacrificing the moments that hit the hardest. I'll be honest, I was probably totally, completely wrong structuring this episode around rom-com week.
I think we had this one wrong.
Yeah,
but you know what? We can only go off of what we're kind of told, pitched
yes,
to.
This even on the websites, I'm telling you, this is still like trying to be marketed as a rom-com.
And it's not.
It's not.
It's rom-drom.
Yeah, it is rom-drom. Absolutely. It really is not too far from Past Lives in terms of tone and, kind of having a bittersweetness to it.
Yeah.
Its goal is to kind of make you, reflect on it a little bit. I would say, let me tell you, it's the combination of these two sides that make this work. You still have light moments around the overall dating scene. I mean, that is absurd, if not, outright comedic. But the bitter notes that come through, that's what keeps you interested. And that's what I think was so remarkable about Past Lives. And I think, really the standout here as well. I feel if there's something special about how the typical meet cute is structured in these movies, there's something to what Song is able to do, whether it's the fluttery soundtrack or the chemistry she's able to capture. The moments that we see Dakota really connecting with either side of this romantic interest all stand out to me as the best the film has to offer. And I think that's a great mark. It's a romance that the romance hits the best. And sometimes that's not always the case. So as much as this leans away from comedy, though, I really don't regret pairing it with at least Hitch. Maybe not the full, maybe not the full romance week, but at least Hitch was a good pairing, believe it or not, because this movie is just as much about Dakota's profession as a matchmaker as it is about the romances in her life, and really tries to give her character a bit of a personal arc with finding purpose in what she does. I would say, unfortunately, as a negative, the beats of drama around this felt like an eye roll to me, sadly. And at minimum, a detour in the story that is just integrated poorly into the juggling act of these two romances. I'll be perfectly clear, especially if you watch the movie, I don't have an issue with the specific scenario or this like crisis of conscience that Dakota goes through, or her character Lucy goes through, where matchmaking is, the central dilemma that is created. I mean, if anything, this is trying to maybe dodge the punch that I thought I would have had to thrown at Hitch coming back to it 20 years later. I think there is a huge, huge mismatch in how Dakota's character is cold. She's a cold, analytical, killer saleswoman for 99% of the movie, and yet is just so overwhelmingly affected by a job she says herself could leave at any time and have no bones about it. Even down to some of the very last monologues we get from her, Lucy is still asserting how cold and uncaring she is, and that's what just created a huge disconnect for me.
It's like De Niro in Heat, but he can't actually leave in 30-second decision.
Sure. Well, spoilers.
No, but if De Niro and Heat went that way, okay.
Yeah, or he couldn't rob a bank because there was a kid in the way or something like that. I don't know.
So
I like the call out to Heat, though.
Okay, so you didn't like the tonal shift that she took. Like, it was too unbelievable.
Yeah, this movie is 4/5 just this bouncing romance between Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans,
right,
and then 1/5 this like crisis of conscience around matchmaking. And I'm not saying it's like a bad scenario, but it's just like, this is not our character does not care about this. I mean, to the very last moments of the film, she's still saying like, I can't care about anything. It's just like, well, something's wrong here. So that would really be my only slight on the film, because just didn't feel like I don't know. I hate to say this, but maybe needed like a second look as far as the writing goes.
Yeah, okay.
If you were wondering with bated breath if I choked up at this movie, I hate to disappoint you, but my eyes were dry all week.
Yeah, they're rolling back is what it sounds like.
Even despite our next movie's best effort to make the whole audience cry by the end, it was dry. I needed some eye drops. But that said, I still felt a little bit of the magic that was the whole reason why I was excited for a director's next project in the first place. I think between the Filippo brothers 2 weeks ago and now Celine's song, I really have loved watching these new voices on the scene continue to refine what works for them, and I still can't wait to see what they make next. We're going to go ahead and give Materialists a 67.
Okay, a 67. Boy, we're starting to kind of see your rom-com score here.
yeah.
Even though these aren't rom-coms, but
it's dialed in.
That's hilarious. Okay, so 67%. Actually, that's actually a pretty good score.
I think, yeah.
After reading more and listening to more, I thought this was going to take a hit from you a little bit.
Listen, I think there's a lot that works. I love both the romances in this. I think there's a lot of fun, but also a lot of heartbreak. But
really?
Yeah. There's if there is a trademark, and a proto-trademark at that, for songs and projects, it's this like bittersweetness.
Well, it sounds like she knows how to do dialogue too.
Yeah.
And have two people work off each other.
Absolutely. But there's something to the subtle, not a big knife turn, but the little knife turn to both her romances so far.
All right. And again, this kind of definitely has an audience for somebody. I don't know if it's me, but I mean that's
sure.
But
I also don't think it's who they're marketing it to.
Well, for sure.
Rom-coms, because it's
who
really
exactly? And you want this rom-com business too. I don't know.
The thing is, I went in, and this was not like a packed theater, but there was some people, and you could feel that. Not disappointed, but they were definitely going in thinking they were going to have like a good time, maybe a sexy time. It is rated R. I don't really see a reason why it's rated R, if I'm being honest.
Probably. Is there more than 2 F words?
Maybe. No. There's no nudity. There's no nothing.
There's got to be. There's got to be language.
Yeah,
There's got to be language.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, though, I think that's great. It is funny because when you pitch it like a rom-com, people, I feel like, kind of are craving for that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, who they really want to get at the theaters are these Celine song people. But she just doesn't have household recognition. She doesn't have a household name yet.
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
It only pulls so much weight. Now, this did have a better than expected box office.
Sure. I think a lot of that
small,
credit can be just in the love triangle of Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans.
Yes.
And Pedro Pascal.
Yes. And who do we like? You had this trio: Dakota Johnson, what's his face, and Chris Evans. Pedro Pascal. Who was most enjoyable? First of all,
I would say Pedro Pascal. It's definitely the dreamy and exciting side of the romance.
Okay.
And as far as like the magic I'm talking about, of like how our director is able to really capture a variety of emotions in a scene. They're intimate, talking scenes. There was something really, really great about that.
He didn't come across too old for her.
By intention. He's kind of,
it's in the script. Okay,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Very good. Okay, that checks off the boxes. All right, so 67% for Materialists, folks. It'll be in theaters for the next few weeks as a wide release, so go check it out if interested. Next, let's go to Mike Flanagan, who I think we covered on the podcast before.
No. Only Dr. Sleep, which is rated, of course.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, this is called The Life of Chuck. You, for the past 3 months, were talking about Mike Flanagan and just what is he doing with this feel-good, cutesy movie? At least that's what the trailer was telling us.
Yeah.
Because Mike Flanagan goes into a different kind of route typically.
Yes.
Not horror. Is it horror?
100% horror.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
So he comes out with this movie called The Life of Chuck. Again, it came out in TIFF won the award for Best Movie in the Toronto Film Festival. Mm-hmm. It got finally a theater release now. Months later, it got a theater release now. And it's not performing what they thought it was going to, first of all.
Okay.
But most importantly, how did it shake out? How is it? Get into it.
Well, a complicated movie. One that, unfortunately, my review is going to have to be a little bit at arm's length as far as talking about the specifics, because I feel like if there is the main enjoyment of this movie is definitely your first watch, because it's what the hell is happening, basically. Okay. This was something on my radar, but turned out to be very different than why it was originally definitely on my radar. Our director, Mike Flanagan, in the last 6 years or so, has become one of the biggest creators in horror. Netflix shows like Midnight Mass and both Haunting of series are highly, highly praised and worth checking out. But personally, I've always kept an eye on Flanagan's work after seeing Dr. Sleep, a surprisingly great movie facing impossibly high expectations, being a sequel to no less The Shining. And that's really only matched by an impossibly stupid name. I mean, I love that movie, but Dr. Sleep, I mean, come on. Like, wow. Too much.
It's not punching too good.
Yeah. Most importantly, though, while that project connects Flanagan with Stephen King, which Life of Chuck is now based on a short story that King wrote in 2020, this is not a horror movie in the slightest. This is so not in that direction. It feels much closer to when King steps out of his comfort genre with something like we've even covered in the past on the podcast, like Stand By Me or Green Mile. I mean, maybe...
He gets a little fantasy-ish.
Yeah,
he gets
absolutely.
a little, yeah.
He gets a little romantic even, like romantic about, big picture stuff. And that is a better way to, pose this rather than, hey, it's Mike Flanagan. You like Midnight Mass? You like House of Bly or House of Haunting Hill? Nope. This is something real different. But folks, The Life of Chuck is a super unique experience and a very difficult movie to summarize. It's not even that I'm tempted to talk about spoilers. It's more so how summarizing the emotional message of the story feels very reductionist to the heart of what this movie is truly about. I can talk about a little bit of how this is structured a bit, though. This is a multi-act story that is interwoven through a narration done by Nick Offerman. The 3 acts are actually told in reverse order, starting with the third and ending with the first. And done so to kind of puzzle together the mystery that is initially presented to us. That starting hook is one hell of a mystery, though. The world seems to be going through like 12 different end-of-the-world circumstances at once, and to every character we meet, it seems like the end times are here. That is until a mysterious poster starts showing up literally everywhere, thanking Chuck Krantz for 39 great years in his profession, utterly tone-deaf to what appears to be the end of the world around people. But just when the audience reaches a fever pitch with questions as to what the hell is going on, we are thrusted into the second and the first act of the story inside Chuck's own upbringing and going through his life in search of answers. That's the summary. Does it help? I don't know. Do you have a better understanding of this? I don't know. Maybe some training wheels on the structure of this, but it's really something else. Unfortunately, I'm not like in love with this movie, but I want to give it a lot of credit because it was like one of a kind, like truly one of a kind, and you don't really get that too often.
Is it sloppy though?
No, it depends on
you're
what...
jumping around, you're confused by it. You know what I mean?
It depends on if you're satisfied with the answer.
Oh, okay.
At all.
Right, okay.
And I personally was a little bit dissatisfied with it. I think my big fear initially was seeing this and was, just really afraid of the overt feel-good vibes of the film would just strike a little bit of what I despise about things like Forrest Gump, that sickeningly sweet optimism.
Yeah.
It's just simply not what I want out of the movie. I've talked about it plenty of times. I want to be miserable. I want to be devastated. I want to be emotionally gutted. Those movies are just not for me. Luckily, that's, I think, where Stephen King's writing sends you for a loop. The way the story kicks off here is so mysterious and so gripping that I was really on the edge of my seat the whole time for this movie because I was just I wanted the answers. I wanted what the hell is this poster thanking Chuck Krantz for 39 years? Like, what is this? Now, make no mistake, every piece of the marketing for the film will still beat you over the head saying how life-affirming this is as an experience and that we should all see it, which, I think this is third big eye roll for me for the episode. A lot of eye rolls. But personally, I thought the feel-good elements to the story worked more so as the answer to the mystery, especially for what's set up as the most disparaging, unanswerable circumstances that kick off the story. That's kind of the headspace that I would recommend going into watching this, and maybe to avoid some of the disappointment that I felt.
Sure.
One aspect that I have to talk about, though, and luckily shown plenty in the trailer, is that there is dancing in this movie.
Yeah.
And quite a lot of dancing.
Like a lot of dancing?
A lot of dancing. To the point that maybe it is a dance movie.
No, come on.
Who knows? Regardless of how you react to these scenes when they come along, I will say, Tom Hiddleston, he is a notoriously good dancer, and there are countless late-night talk show clips that have proven this over the years.
God.
I know. You're not a fan of Hiddleston? He's not your boy?
No, I find him annoying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So this is probably definitely a no-go then for you.
Well, also people breaking out and dancing, I just can't do typically.
Yeah,
I'm just not buying it. It makes my skin crawl for some reason.
Okay.
I feel embarrassed for them. That's typically how dancing on screen is for me.
Fair. I would say, I mean, this isn't done in like a musical kind of way. It's not like, in a musical, you have a musical number, either song or dance, because like it's illustrating these characters' emotions. Like they have no other way than to burst into dance.
Correct, yes.
Here, I don't know. It's kind of like dance for the sake of dance. I mean, it's like a plot point. In fact, I would say the biggest disappointment is we only get one big dance sequence with Tom Hiddleston directly as a character. And it's because he's so good otherwise. I wanted to see more of Hiddleston doing these dances. The actors that play the younger versions of Chuck, they're pretty decent. But I really needed him, in the whole movie. I think that would have done a lot more for my enjoyment, and maybe even the expectation of like the sizable theater that showed up to watch this.
Oh, really?
thing. Yeah, I think they were like really about like the Tom Hiddleston angle of this. Otherwise, I have no idea. I mean, maybe they were like diehard Mike Flanagan fans. Like, who are they?
Well, talk about a disappointment then.
Well, yeah, maybe that's also a whole nother direction, but. I'll say this, just ending on Hiddleston's dancing and his skills. I have no idea what the status of that Fred Astaire biopic that was rumored with Tom Holland. Supposed to be Tom Holland starring as like a young Fred Astaire, but I'm telling you, give it to Hiddleston. He's got the goods.
Really?
He's got the lankiness.
Really?
He's got maybe,
he's thinned out.
Yeah.
Almost in a weird way.
This one it is, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He almost looks like a bobblehead. Like it's like his body is small, but he still has this kind of like larger head.
Rough.
Just saying.
Out of all the rom-coms we touched on, and we didn't talk about physical appearance at all.
I don't want to shit on him too much because you were enjoying it, though.
Listen, yeah, he's a good dancer. He really is a good dancer.
That's fantastic.
And the fact that this is a project kind of around dancing is, I say, a good match.
Boy.
So, this movie overall, though, left me very conflicted, mostly because I have huge respect for Flanagan as a filmmaker. This was a bold project to take on, and something I can confidently call one of a kind. I mean, there's really nothing like this. I thought, this would land, I don't know, Forrest Gump, maybe a little bit of Truman Show in a meta nature to it. I thought I would be able to compare this to other things, and I really can't, for better or worse,
Wow.
I don't know if something just didn't click for me here by the end. I would say it's tough for me to say who would actually recommend this movie for, because the tone and the message of the story is so wide. As much as we have what it's being marketed for, these feel-good elements, like a movie for everyone type of talking points, there are still there's an intensity to the mystery of just like what the hell is going on that I don't think it's for everyone. I certainly don't think it's like for like a family audience.
Well, especially if you're walking out and you're going to be, if your answers aren't satisfactorily answered, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Too.
Absolutely. So I think if anything, because I was so engaged with the whole movie and specifically looking to unpack that initial mystery, I really was interested in getting the answers. And like you would reading a Stephen King book, by the time the answers are given, I was just left a little bit disappointed. But having said that, I still think it is one of the most unique films of the year so far, and probably worth a watch, if only to make up your mind on the meaning of Chuck's life. We're going going to go ahead and give The Life of Chuck a 59.
Okay, 59% for The Life of Chuck. Very interesting. I'm glad. You know what that review did? Even though you couldn't talk about it too much, I think it just gave us rails.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
For how not on rails this seems to be.
Training wheels.
Exactly right. You put the training wheels on for us.
I was sitting down to write the summary. I was just like, well, I could really, almost in 3 words, really just summarize what this is. But I feel like that would just betray what this movie is trying to achieve.
Good. Well, that's good to keep it light then. Yeah.
So it's something else. It is something else. I'm guessing it's not doing well at all.
No, it's not. Like I said, it's doing worse than even expected. Like it's just not having the pop it did. They were thinking that since it won the People's Choice for TIFF, I think they were expecting it to kind of have a little bit more, even potential maybe being awards. It's just not happening, and it's just not being talked about. I haven't heard one praise yet of it. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Everybody, I think, is kind of coming down like you on it.
Yeah, hard to pin.
Kind of confused. Kind of just like, what is this? What is it not? You know?
Yeah.
So
points for unique, but hard to pin, and almost impossible to say like, oh, I know what kind of taste of movies a said person likes. I still feel like I don't have a good chance to recommend this to someone.
Who do you recommend
real
this
life?
to?
Yeah,
boy. I mean, at some point, would this be good for someone who loves Cloud Atlas?
We need to have a dinger when my friends Cloud Atlas.
It's going to be the last episode on the podcast.
Yeah, I like that. No, honestly,
No.
But I like that's certainly in the same vein of not one of a kind, but certainly oh, this is a unique ball.
Yes,
And
time frames, you're dealing with different. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You said no. Looking at these 5 films this week here, Vin. Any closing notes? Anything for next week? Roll credits. What do you want to do?
I'm glad to watch all of these. I really did enjoy all of these movies to an extent of I like covering movies that either are off a list like Before Sunrise or comfy rewatches. I mean, this week kind of had it all, so I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed yourself. Yeah. And next week we've got Danny Boyle's back in theaters.
Yes. So next week, folks, we have 28 Years Later, and I'm going to take this opportunity to do a full Danny Boyle ep. We don't have 28 weeks later on the website. Technically, the prequel to this new movie, but also not really connected. So I think I'm just going to take the chance to do a Danny Boyle ep because he deserves it. That list right now is Trainspotting, Steve Jobs, 127 Hours, and Slumdog Millionaire. All kind of heavy hitters in their own right.
They kind of are.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for when you gave me that list. I'm I told you, I'm going to watch some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I'm thinking Danny Boyle, he deserves an ep, even though...
I'm almost surprised we haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, we covered him on the zombie special. We did get that first one, the 28 days later.
Yep.
28, what was it? 28 days. Yeah.
Yep. I think before recording we said hours.
I said hours, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm excited for next week. If we're doing, those are big heavy hitters. Those are big movies, and super excited.
Yeah.
That's a huge talked about film too. I do not know what we're going to get for this.
Sure.
As far as 28 years.
You think back to 28 Days as well, and it's just that is also not a normal zombie movie. Not even just the rage zombies, shaking up the formula a little bit. That movie is like a road trip movie more than anything, almost sometimes more than a zombie movie.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong too. It was a big deal the way he filmed it because he was all digital when digital wasn't all that good.
Right.
But that made a big impact.
Yep.
There's some crazy stuff he did on this one with filming as well.
Oh, really?
There's scenes where it's shot with 26 iPhones.
Oh, I think
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I don't know if he did that purposely. Hey, this was very revolutionary back in 2001. Was it?
I want to say definitely around that early 2000s.
And I think he maybe wanted to do something as well again.
Interesting.
And I was doing some of the behind the scenes. It's just cool. I like the way they're doing it. It seems like just makeup artists, props, looking very good.
Sure.
Looking like a very well-made film. Yeah. So anyway, folks, that'll be for next week. For this week, Vin, thank you so much for watching these not so rom-coms. We appreciate it. And folks at home will run it down one more time. We've got Before Sunrise with a 66%. You've got Mail with a 68%. Hitch with a 70%. Materialists with a 67%. And The Life of Chuck with a 59%. All right, folks, it's always a blast week after week. Glad you come back. And as always, we'll see you right here next week on the Daily Ratings Podcast. And hey, if you enjoyed the podcast, if you would, give us a good rating or get the word out and tell a friend about us. And just a reminder, the Daily Ratings is completely producer supported. We want to stay away from advertising, and we don't want to have any paywalls or tier structures or subscriptions. It's all just value for value. So, are you finding value in what we're doing here at the Daily Ratings? Then become a producer and donate whatever amount of value that is. Just go to the donations tab on thedailyratings.com, and while you're there, be sure to check out the massive amount of films that Vince has rated. So thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Daily Ratings Podcast.